I will go ahead and call to order this Community Engagement Subcommittee meeting on Tuesday, November 19th at, it is now 6:04 p.m. We are all meeting on Zoom again because the John's-on was locked, but we do hope to have fully hybrid meetings moving forward. I'm going to go ahead and call the order. I'm Stacy. I'm the chair of this subcommittee. I'm here. Member Deneve,
Here.
Member Goodwin.
Here.
All right, all three of us are present and we have a quorum. Right, so I think we just all consented for right now, since there is no public present, we're going to go ahead and move forward to item 3, which is the approval of the October 22nd subcommittee meeting minutes. Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, so let's go ahead and take a vote. And I think because it is online, we do have to do a roll call vote. Member Goodwin,
Yes.
Member Deneve,
Yes.
and I am also a yes, so that is unanimous. We have approved the minutes of the last meeting. All right. Now to the main meat. Main meat of our meeting today is to start setting some goals for the remainder of this academic year related to community engagement. And I know that we've seen some suggestions come through email from the public about topics that we could take up. Or at least I think we have. And I would also love to hear from each of you some of the ideas that have been percolating in your brain since the last time that we met.
Well, okay, I'll go. I think that we should revisit having childcare at our meetings, at the main school committee meetings. I think that we should revisit the time. I think 6 p.m. is not conducive for community engagement with so many working families in our district. Childcare, I know, is a barrier from people coming to meetings. It was a barrier for me when my child was younger, and I've heard that from many people. I know that we talked at one point in time and tried a few meetings when we were working pretty hotly with redistricting on having meetings in other places. We had a meeting at Oak Courts, we had a meeting at Leiden Woods in the community centers there. And I think the general feeling was, well, we had a meeting and not that many people showed up, so clearly this was a bad idea. But I kind of think that you have to give it more than a few chances to see if it's a good idea. People may not know that it's going on, they may not know what we're offering, and so I feel like we need, whatever we do, we need to give it some time to get the ball rolling, and we shouldn't just assume that people don't want to access what we're offering. So I would like to revisit those meeting outside of our normal area ideas. And it doesn't have to be for a full school committee meeting, but it could be as listening sessions, like quarterly listening sessions. But I definitely think that the time that our larger meetings are at and the childcare issue would really enable people to be more involved. That's my current 2 cents. I'm complete.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I was thinking along the same lines, but attaching meetings to, whether it's listening sessions, to things that I know large groups come out. Like I just put the high school band performance on my calendar. That's usually a large group of people who come out. Would they come earlier if they knew there was somebody there? willing to listen about engagement or anything that they want to talk about. Um, right now, this time of year is kind of hectic, and the things that parents come out for is usually something with children performance or either the hockey rink or sports. Um, kind of attaching some meetings or some times for them to talk to a school committee members at those events. Right now, I know turkey trots are big. Parents will come out to watch the turkey trot. Having somebody sitting at a picnic table that they can chat with might be a way to do that. Um, so, the things that are happening during the holidays that people come out for were kind of what I was thinking of, especially for this time of year, because it's a hard time of year for people. But the band concerts are big, turkey trots are big, and sports. And the hockey rink, um, I'd have to have double sweatshirts, but I can hang out at the hockey rink. So I just think there are just places where even if it's like Community Action does this really well. They have a table and they put a table up at every event. As a principal, I got used to just shooting them an email and they would come and they would have free goodies like free books or something, and people would just sit down and chat with whoever came from Community Action. They would be there for so I got invited to community readers. That's a family night in December. And I think you all got the invitation as well. So that's a good place to have a table where somebody's reading and then somebody's sitting and listening. Community Action usually is there as well. But those informal conversations sometimes tell us more than the formal.
I like that we're brainstorming about different ways that we can be available in less formal settings, perhaps. That not everything, I think, as Elizabeth was saying, not everything needs to be a big full school committee meeting. Although there might be times when that is appropriate. A question that I'm having that I'm not sure if either of you know the answer to, or I can make it, my job to go find the answer is, do we as school committee have a budget? Besides for I know we have one for professional development. That's how we got, to go down to the Cape. But I'm thinking, you mentioned free goodies and such in the community action table. I'm thinking what would be relevant that we could distribute. I know that the schools themselves, like, and I see Karen all over the place with the table with like Title I bookmarks and little books and other like stuff. But I don't know if there's something that we could distribute that would actually be relevant to us in our position and also meaningful, you know what I mean? Or if we even have a separate budget that would allow us to do it. I mean, I think it would still potentially be valuable for us to just show up and be at a table. But that's sort of my wondering. And I like this idea of really encouraging. I don't know if I don't think that it's a stated expectation that we as school committee members have something like an office hour kind of thing. I don't know if that's I know it's not a mandate, but I don't even know if it's an expectation we've created for ourselves as a group. But I do know that some members of our school committee do hold office hours and they've got them listed in their email signatures and that sort of thing. But if we could put together perhaps a schedule and have folks sign up. One thing that I would like to be very clear about with our other committee members, with the larger committee, is that it is actually not just the three of us who are responsible for enacting these things. We come to them with policy suggestions. That is our entire committee's responsibility to do. So those are sort of my thoughts. I am also wondering along the same lines as like, do we have a budget? What would it take to get childcare at our meetings? And we can brainstorm this a little bit. And as far as revisiting the time, I do feel like that's something we can just propose. We can make a motion and see if we get a vote about it. That is 100% something we can do relatively easily as long as we get the other members to agree. All right, both of you have your hands up, but I saw Elizabeth's first and then Mel.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to remember what I just had in my head. We were talking about a budget. Oh, what we
Yeah.
could hand out the budget calendar and the year-long agenda. Uh, also, meetings, a calendar of meetings for all of the PTOs, CPACs, LPACs, and such. Although I don't know if we have an LPAC, but the PACs, we could have a handout for that. I think that one thing that's like one thing that we have to keep in mind is that the public is going to come to us and think that we're the people to ask about all of the things that they're having trouble with at the school, but
Mhm.
that's not our mission. So even if we're sitting at a table, we're still referring them to the superintendent. So I think that
Mhm.
part of the community engagement piece is letting them know what we can do and what we are there for. So telling them how we can take their concerns, their budgetary concerns to heart, and letting them know the packs that are available for them to join, letting them know where the superintendent is going to be, when family nights are, these kinds of broader things, um, I think are really important. And as for budget, I I've been through the charter so many times, and the only thing that I've seen set aside for us at all is our stipend and our professional development money. But one of the things that came up, not that I'm saying it's valid because we never went down the road of discussion, but one of the things that came up because I did ask about this childcare issue multiple times was that they were afraid, the old committee was afraid of there being liability issues. It wasn't so much a budgetary issue, it was more who is watching the children? Are we taking responsibility for this? And we never discussed it further, but I do know that for many events, the superintendent will put in their mail out information, let us know if you need transportation and or we will have childcare available. So there must be something in place. I just don't know what it is or what the route for funding is, if that makes sense. Oh, whoops. Sorry. I hit the wrong one. But I'm
All good.
complete.
Thank you. Mel?
The childcare is usually provided by the high school honor society. They're usually children in the past schools, and when they did events would contact Tara Cloutier, and she had the honor society, and there were kids who had to do community service, and so there were usually 3 or 4 children who would come and do childcare. So that was one source of a childcare provider. But that was within a school setting. So within a school setting, there's less liability because you're covered insurance wise because it's a school. So that would be one of the things. And that would be one of the other things is just attaching ourselves to PTO meetings that happen so that, we would be having childcare in addition to the PTO having childcare. Um, so that might be something we can do. Sometimes it's small things, like movie theater tickets or raffling off something, stickers that said I talked to a school committee member, something silly that gets people motivated to just chat about different things. One of the things I know is parents don't know who to call. They don't have the phone numbers. That is half the problem with communication in
Mhm.
Greenfield. They don't have a phone number, or people don't answer the phone and then they get frustrated. So I think it's really even a contact list. I mean, we used to have magnets years ago with like all the phone numbers and the names of people, who to call if your kid missed the bus, that kind of, it was a magnet. And we gave them out to parents and that stopped. Um, you know, because the people kept changing. So I think just phone numbers and contact information. If you're having a problem with your child's IEP, here's the phone number. This is the person you should call. If you're having a problem with your child, you know, this is the person you would call. I think that's really something that's kind of, there's stuff on websites, but a lot of people don't have access to websites, or don't know how to use them correctly. So just something concrete, even on a bookmark. Um, so I just think that's a big thing. I feel like all I've done is give out phone numbers to people.
Okay. Okay. Um, yeah, and I'm hearing what you're saying about going back to childcare. I'm hearing what you're saying about attaching ourselves to different other meetings that are already happening in a school setting. But I don't think that that addresses the fundamental when our monthly full committee meetings happen. Like we can choose to hold different kinds of sessions that are like that, but that it won't work for our big ones. I am wondering if there's an opportunity for a more partnership with GCC and their early childhood educator program. Because that's literally what they're going to school for, and I don't know if they're required to get any practicum hours in. Um, but that could be something to look into. I don't know who is the one. I don't know who to contact at GCC. I mean, I could look it up and just find the director of their program and do a cold call, but I don't know if it's us. Well, I'm actually pretty sure now that I'm saying it that it's not us alone for certain, that Karen would need to be part of forging that partnership, and the whole committee would need to vote in order to expend the labor to pursue it. You know what I mean? I don't think that's something that we can just go rogue and start doing on our own.
That was my other question, was on your list of questions. So if we like do tables at different places, does that have to be posted?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, so it depends on how we label them,
Okay.
right? For best practice, if we want people to come talk to us, yes, they
Mhm.
should be posted. The people need to know that we're going to be in places. But if it's not a public meeting per se, and there is not a quorum of us present, then it's not a meeting that is beholden, I think, to the open meeting law in that kind of way. So it'd be more of a, do we actually want people to come talk to us? If the answer is yes, then we should let them know we're there. But as long as there's not four or more of us, then that should be fine. And I wouldn't imagine that we would have, especially if there are events, multiple events happening on the same night, we wouldn't want a bunch of us all at one. These tables would probably be one or two of us. Two would be best practice. Or we could buddy up and go, one of us with Karen if Karen was also having tables. Something like that. All right, Elizabeth.
I think I love all of these ideas, but I think that there's a path that we have to follow where we start at making the large meeting as engaging to the community as possible, and we sort of fill those seats first, like get out into the community with that meeting first. So like starting by saying, these are the actionable steps that we can do to make our large public meeting as accessible as possible with the childcare, the transportation, or whatever we deem the time, all these changes, and make them really concrete and make them in January. Like do it as part of our organizational meeting and say like these are the changes we're going to implement and I'll vote on it, and then give it like 5 6 months and then start to add other things and start to say like, okay, now that we've done this, the next step is to make sure that we have a committee member, at least one committee member at all of the school events that we can possibly attend. And then like really make a calendar of what the events are, and everybody gets assigned, sort of like the subcommittee of one or whatever, or two, under quorum, so that we can go, so that there is somebody at the graduation and at the band concert and at the, like, that's part of community engagement, just showing up. Because I hear from so many people that, oh, well, we invited you, and, we're hoping that you would come and see what the kids have been working on. And then, you show that presence for a little while. And then, so you're constantly upping the ante, so that by the time we get to the end of the year, we're so involved in community engagement that when that organizational meeting hits, because we don't know what's going to happen, all new people may come in. And if you don't have like this foundation for that, it can just get swept right away and just be gone. If you don't have the right people in place to do it. And that, I mean, that's an unfortunate reality of the very difficult and enterprising new work that we're doing as a group, is that it could just all go away if we don't, make it, sort of set it in stone. Because there are three of us that are going to be, changing out or staying or whatever. And um, Melody too, I think you have to do it next year too, right? Um, so
Mm,
I'm,
I don't know. That's a separate topic for discussion, but
yeah.
I actually don't know if Meldads need to do it next year, or
Mm.
if it's until the end of the person whose term she had filled the vacancy for.
I
In
think
which
it's just
case,
to the next election.
okay.
But yeah, but
Right.
that, but
Mhm.
neither here nor there. The I just worry that, if we don't have things set and like stepping stones in place and a staircase up to full efficiency, it can very easily be swept away.
Um, I'm so sorry. I forgot to do this. Can we hold a vote to suspend the normal rules of procedure so this can feel like more of a discussion and I don't have to call on you? I mean, I'll facilitate and still happy to manage, but um,
Yeah.
can I get a motion for that? To
So moved.
suspend?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Uh, Member Deneve, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member Goodwin, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right. So we've suspended the normal rules of procedure for the meeting so this can feel like an actual discussion. Okay. Sorry. I just feel like I needed to actually do that. Um, please continue.
That's all I really wanted to say. I want to make sure that it's not, let's discuss this as a possibility, but as in, let's enact this starting
Mhm.
in January, and then just ramping it right up the ladder of efficiency and making it so that when new people come in, they know that this is how we do business. We engage the community, and this is what's expected of you, instead of it's, you know, June or July and we haven't decided yet. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. So if I'm thinking about the amount of time we have between now and the end of the year, we have 7 months. And a good chunk of those months, like really we have 6 months because a good chunk of those months are eaten up by holidays. Um, Between February break and Christmas and New Year's and like there'll be a good chunks of time that we're really not gonna have to work with. Um, if we have this clear vision of, I think, where we're trying to go and the ethos that we're trying to embody of just this is a norm. This is just how we operate as school committee members. We are super involved, or we would like to be super involved. I think that some of our current members even might be less on board with that than others, or we might need to negotiate like what is a reasonable number of events to sign up to as a single individual. Like that's something we can have a discussion about maybe in the full committee, because I don't think that we should be overextending any of ourselves, you know. We do need to prioritize our lives and being full habit
Yep.
humans, because that's how we continue to be good functional school committee members, is by maintaining like boundaries. It's good. And I also, I see where we're trying to go, and I don't know if we're gonna get that in 6 months. You see what I mean? By the end of the school year, I don't know if we could be fully where we're trying to be at that time. And so I'm wondering, is like the solid singular goal then to, if we wanted to make it a smart one, by the by the end of the school year, we want to see a 25% increase in the number of parents and other community who attend our full school committee meetings regularly.
Uh,
Like, I'm throwing that out there and I want to hear, Melly, what are you thinking about that?
I don't know if that is something, it's not just school committee meetings, it's PTO meetings, it's all of it's parents showing up is hard, because they're working and you know, they're doing all these other things and their kids are involved in different things. So I was thinking of more like an engagement goal of
Okay.
my there are two things I'm hearing is we want to be visible, we want to be approachable, we want to be present. And so even if we could set a goal that we attend, 80% of all school district activities between all of us. And then if we could increase the invitations to attend, um, that we get 90% of all district activities we're invited to, because I think there are things happening that I don't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to work in the district, but I know there are activities that are happening that we're not invited to. So if we could increase that, because then we know it's taking place and we can be present. Um, and then communicating those things. I mean, the superintendent's doing a good job with putting things out on the media, but the more events that are out there that people know about, the more likely they are to participate in things. Um, so, we get invited to the band thing. I get invited to the turkey trot because I'm the only one who remembers how it ran. I get invited to pajama night or the community readers because, again, I'm the only person who remembers how it ran. And so it's sort of like, but there are things going on in every school that you're probably getting invited more to more Federal Street things because
Mm-hmm.
you're there. So I think
Yeah.
that's part of it, is even being
You know,
invited to
there,
more.
yeah. I've been jokingly in my head wondering if each of us school committee members should adopt a school. Like, I go to Federal Street because that is my neighborhood school, and I walk there
Right.
when I do the volunteering, right? And that makes sense for me. There are six
Yeah.
schools and there are six of us, and I don't count the mayor because she's really, really busy. Got other things to worry about.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, is that, and because it's also
That's
good to have
fair.
like one point of contact, and just like you're gonna go to those events, and then maybe every year we can rotate and try out a new school so that it's, but I don't know, that's just like an idea. Um, but
I think
yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. No, there is something in our policy that states that once you're on the school committee, do you are expected to attend all the meetings and to attend and work on the subcommittees. So I feel like this would be like, to me it doesn't really matter what the percentage number is, because I think that no matter how engaged we are, no matter how successful we are with community engagement, there are going to be a whole lot of times when nobody wants to engage with us. Like, it's just going to happen where nobody's there and we're the only ones and nobody cares, and it's fine. Um, but I think that it might be worthwhile to put in it to change the policy to say that you will work on your subcommittees and that you will also be available to attend school functions. And then if we have a calendar of the functions, I like your adopt a school idea, although I know some schools are quite a bit more active than others.
Hmm.
But if we make a really clear expectation that that you'll look at the calendar and you'll reasonably be available to go to an event, once every other month or every month or something like that. And that if you have to travel to an event, like sometimes there are band events that require you driving down to Amherst or something, that your, you know, expenses would be reimbursed if you had to go far afield. Things like that. I don't think people would be against that as long as it's parceled out, and everybody knew, as long as you knew in the policy. So when you sign up for this gig, that that's what's going to be expected of you. I would have been absolutely willing to do that from the start, but that involves us really reaching out to all of those PTOs and all of the PACs and making sure that we have all that information. But then the second part of that is we have to, I think one of our main goals, I've been really thinking about this, like what would be a main goal is to, and I don't know how this falls into our purview, but we need to make some statements about how the website is put together because it is not community oriented. For example, there's no way to navigate to the CPAC meetings. There's a broken link there, so you can't even find out when they are unless you use the search bar. The other PAC meetings aren't listed easily. If I was a parent navigating the site, I wouldn't be able to find the things that I need. And I don't think that it's the design that's bad, but we're missing a lot of the information that the community needs right off the bat. So I don't know how we navigate that as a subcommittee. That might not be
To that,
anything we can touch.
I would say write a very clear and concise, because I did this as well very early and before I was even a school committee member with the volunteer information. Because a lot
Mhm.
of it was like it was hard to find. It's better to find now. But if you
Mhm.
they're like, hey, this link here needs to be active or this, because it's with the turnover that we've experienced in our IT department, I can understand how some links didn't quite make it. Um, but as a first approach, I would say send an
Mhm.
email very clearly. This needs to be this, this needs to be this. I need to be able to find this from this, and lay it out. And then give it a little time, couple months for
Yeah.
the IT folks to do it. And then if it's still not, then we can revisit it. But for now, I don't think it's our committee's purview to do anything about it, but as a member of the public, you are well within your right to be like, I want my website to be functional and a lot clearer.
Right. Right. But
Um,
it is a piece of community engagement, and I'm just thinking that we might bump up against that in some way.
yes, and we can certainly make recommendations about ways that we think that it could be a more inviting and easier to navigate resource.
Mhm.
Um, I'm also hearing now that we're thinking about recommending a policy change. That would be something that I think our subcommittee would need to vote on if we would need to agree before we would forward that. Um,
Mhm.
I am just wanting to also be clear about the boundary for our committee. Like I'm hearing about we also want more people to be involved with the PTOs and we want more parents to be involved with the PACs and we want more people to be just generally engaged. But we can't take on the community engagement responsibilities of the PTOs and PACs themselves at a certain level. Like we can be supportive and we can help cross list all their events and we can be like we can be out loud and remind people that they exist and that they should go check them out. But at the end of the day, it's also they have a role in themselves. Like we don't own those bodies for really good reason, right? It
Right.
wouldn't actually be proper for us to own the parent organizations. Um, and they also have a role to play in their own outreach. So I don't want to take that away from them, and I don't want to make it entirely our responsibility, because that's a big job. And I do think that for a first set of goals, like maybe that's a long-term, that's a stretch goal, is having a way more robust connection with those groups to the point that we are able to help boost their engagement and they're able to help boost our engagement, where it becomes a reciprocal relationship. But for now, I do think that we need to set our sights a little more manageable. We
Mm-hmm.
need a bite-sized chunk. We can't eat the full meal right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just thinking about time and capacity and fighting against historic precedent. You know what I mean? Like there's a bit of an inertia battle that we're gonna have to try to win. Um, so I just wanted to remind, and that's not to say no. I'm not saying no to any of these. I'm not outright. I don't have the power to veto. But I am just trying to remind us that it's okay to small, consistent steps are a lot better than trying to make a giant leap right now.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking, where we like start with the foundation with the larger meeting and then kind of really move up as we see the need, really. But if we want to start mandating people going to events, we will probably have to make a policy change
Right.
as just to state the responsibility that's expected.
And that's something that I would like to just double check. Our, for that part of our policy, is that a legally mandated definition? Or do we actually have the authority to change the expectations for members of school committee in our district alone that might be out of step with what expectations are for other school committees? That's a question that I have that
Mm.
we can work on asking. I will be
Mm-hmm.
I will be seeing our legal counsel tomorrow for the committee or the bargaining rules session. So I can, try to get 5 minutes either before or after with her to ask that question.
Yeah, that's a good idea because that it is. Yeah, I don't know about that. There are policies that we can definitely change quite easily, but then there are other ones that, you know, might be sort of tangled in with the town charter.
Right. Um, okay, so I want to return back to something that Elizabeth said very first and early on, which is this issue of potentially changing the meeting time for our large school committee meetings. Right now, to date, we hold them at 6 p.m. Other town meetings, like city council, happen at 6:30. And I think I would have been in favor of changing just for the purpose of making them consistent. So you don't have to remember, oh yeah, one starts at 6, the other starts. They can both just start at 6:30. And I think it gives an additional half hour for families to eat dinner or pick kids up from their after school programs or whatever it is that they're needing to do that might enable them to come. But if we are going to make that recommendation at the next full committee meeting in December, that we should take a vote on it, just to, make sure that it's like coming from us as a united body. But I would, I would entertain a motion to that effect to bring a policy change is that technically a policy?
Be a
No,
practice.
it's just
But
it's not. We don't have to have a policy vote on it in policy because it's something. It's housekeeping.
okay,
So,
but I
but
guess I
we
would
didn't
entertain a
vote
motion.
on it we didn't vote on it when it came up last time. It was just handed down.
Okay.
I
Um,
think unless I don't know, do you guys remember voting on it? Because I got an email saying that the times weren't gonna change. But I know that we were sort of surveyed. Um,
do I remember being surveyed? I don't remember
were we
being
surveyed?
surveyed.
Or we were like asked.
Um, I would entertain a motion to bring a recommendation forward to the full committee that we change the time to 6:30.
So move.
So second.
Great. All right, discussion on that. What are we all an agreement about that,
This
or?
makes sense that all the town meetings are at the same time. I mean,
Yeah. And I don't think that some town meetings happen during the middle of the day, which is something I will not entertain, because
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. But okay, so all right, then I guess if there's no actual discussion on it, then let's take a
I
vote.
just, I guess the only discussion point that I would have is that we make sure that it's on the agenda for December, because oftentimes when we want to change things, it ends up taking a month longer than we think. And
Mhm.
if we want to have that conversation ready at the organizational meeting in January, we had better put it in the minds of our fellow committee members in December, is my only thought on that.
Okay. And
Otherwise, it'll be March.
right. And our rationale, just so that when I'm presenting this to the committee, our rationale is that one, it makes it consistent with city council meetings. And that
Mhm,
we would like to try this as a strategy for boosting community engagement because we
mhm.
think that more parents will show up. Okay. Are there any other pieces of rationale that we could give that are not a stretch? And it's okay if the answer is no. That's fine. I just wanted to be sure that I was capturing all of our thoughts. Um, okay. All right. Let's take a vote on that. Motion, Member Deneve,
Yes.
Member Goodwin,
yes.
and I am also a yes. So that bringing forward that recommendation is a unanimous vote from us. And we shall see what the full committee does with that. Okay, I am also mindful of the fact that it is 6:46. We have about 14 minutes. So we're trying to keep this meeting to an hour. Okay, so that's one thing. That was that. The next sort of item on the agenda, we have some due diligence to do about childcare and what that might entail at full committee meetings. So that's just homework. Um,
Part of that may be the senior center policy. You would have to run that by Hope to see, because I know this was a problem because they wanted to, a robotics class wanted to use the senior center during the summer, and that was a big deal.
Okay,
So I think it may be a, that would be the first question.
yeah, that's a good place to
Right.
start.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my other question was, is there, so there's our main room where we are, and then there's the room where we usually go for executive session. Is there another room off to the
There's a
left of that?
there's a fitness room.
Does it have a
That you're
There's
toilet?
a
talking about
tiny
now.
there's a tiny office off to the right of the room that we use for executive session, and that is like a little office that they use when the legislators come to have open business hours.
Yeah,
But it's really small. It would be large enough for us to have executive session if we all squeezed in, but it's not comfortable.
right. I get that, and that's kind of my point is
There's a bigger room. They use it for fitness, and that's
that
where we
doesn't
ended
have,
up with robotics.
okay.
So um, it just there were rules that had to be followed to use that space, that were very clear,
Okay.
about cleanliness and supervision. So
Yeah,
I think that's just something to check into. But it's yeah, it's where they do
so,
the aerobics and stuff.
and that's okay, but that's not where we have our full meetings.
No, no,
Okay.
no.
Okay. Okay, so I will look into that. And also ask if we have the authority to change expectations for ourselves. That Major
That is Scooby.
Scooby
I'm not sure what he's up to.
singing the songs of his people, it sounds like.
Or Major's doing something he does not like.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
got it. Okay. And so the next sort of thing, and we're we're circling around this, and this think we still need to set a very, so we have these items, which are a great start, I think, for us. This shows that we're trying to do stuff. Trying to make this a more accessible meeting space for people. Is I think we also need to figure out we've got these sort of two varieties of goals. One is related to is the goal for people to come to us and to get more people to come to us, or is the goal for us to go to more people? And they're not at odds necessarily, they're just two different flavors of achieving the same goal, which the overarching goal is more community engagement overall. And so I think that is where I'm noticing that our discussion sort of teeter-totters around. The next item on our agenda is setting topics for the December meeting, and so I'm wondering if we need another meeting to have this discussion out, and so that we can actually get clear and set some real targeted goals for ourselves.
I would rather have a longer meeting right now and nail down whatever we need to do than have another meeting before now and the next meeting, because I'm about to leave for Canada for a week and I'm not going to be around. And my schedule is just really full. So I'd much rather just do it tonight if you guys are amenable.
Okay. So to be clear, I'm saying our December meeting, which is on the 17th, I was not thinking to try to squeeze in another meeting before our regular school committee meeting on the 11th. I don't think that we need to come to the next school committee meeting with like the best goals in the world. We can tell them these kinds of things take time because we're trying to be really thoughtful about it.
We haven't
So
even got
when were you
goals.
thinking?
Our meetings are the third. Today is the third.
Yep.
Third Tuesday of every month.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already pre-registered it with Becky Hightower. So for the 17th of December, and then I believe that's the 21st of January.
So what is this extra meeting time that you were thinking of?
I'm not thinking of an extra meeting time. I'm saying we need to set topics for our December meeting on the 17th. And I'm saying, are we continuing this discussion for that topic?
Oh, okay. I understand now.
Sorry. Given knowing that, would you still prefer to just have a longer meeting? And do you have a suggested item for December?
No, then let's just continue it at our December meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you're right, it doesn't need to be discussed with the larger committee in December.
Right. And the other thing is, like, clearly we had no members of the public, and part of that is possibly due to them not knowing about it in time or what have you. But I do think it would be nice if we got some community feedback on what they think our goals should be. And I can ask and write a little blurb that goes in Karen's parent updates, just to say, hey, our next meeting is the 17th. This is the question we have for you. Send us an email or come to that meeting to let us know your thoughts. And the question that I have for them is, would they rather us come to them more? Like, are they going to be at these events? Would they value us being at these events? Is that the goal that we should be pursuing? Or would they rather us make these other meetings more enticing to come to us? Sort of getting their feedback on these two different approaches to meeting the goal that we're sort of coming up with. And by then, I will also have followed up with Hope and Becky about, is there something that I missed or I need to do to make sure the John's On is open? I don't think so, but you never know. Okay. I know that we did receive at least one email from a parent specifically discussing the redistricting outreach related to that, with a suggestion to actually put flyers up or hold meetings at the affected addresses or the affected communities. So, I mean, that's at least one parent that I think would be in favor of going out more. I think for that one, that's where it gets a little tricky, where the boundaries between what we can do and what is the school's responsibility or what is their purview to make decisions gets a little blurry, because we're hearing this ask for a particular type of engagement. But that is also not our issue to take on specifically.
I thought the superintendent at the last school committee meeting said that she was going into those communities.
Great.
Neighborhood.
Then
Mhm.
I hope that she replies
Right?
to
Didn't
that
she?
parent and says that.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I just
Then
took that email as a thank you for doing that when I read it.
okay. All right. Are there any other topics aside from continuing this conversation about our goals with the aim of having something pretty concrete for now through the end of the academic year? For December, is there anything else that folks wanted to have on the agenda?
No, I'm fine.
No, I think we're shaping something. So we're starting off small and it's going to get bigger. I mean, just attending things and finding out what activities are out there. That's the start.
Yes. I will be on Thursday, the Federal Street PTO, and I think it's a combined PTO activity actually, but it's occurring at Federal Street. They're putting the last, as they called it, the razzle dazzle on the display. It'll be going at the fairgrounds.
There's a great video. They did a great video. I saw
It's
it.
a very, very sweet video.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I will be going and putting as much razzle dazzle as I can to the situation. Okay, great. Is there anything else coming up for folks right now before we move to adjourn?
I don't think so.
Thank you all for this very productive discussion. I really
I do have
appreciate
a
it.
question that's not to do with the committee
And
that the
then,
two of you may know the answer to.
okay, do you want it on the recording?
Sure, it can be in there. So there's our school committee meeting. Our next school committee meeting is also the same time that the collaborative has their meeting. So is there something in the policy? Does our meeting trump the collaborative meeting? It's like you can't be in two places at once.
Is the
Yes.
what's going on at the collaborative meeting? Is it
It's their normal meeting, like that we're all invited to.
I
When,
think that our large committee meeting is more important than the collaborative meeting.
Right. Okay.
Because
I
the
just wanted to
collaborative
check in.
sometimes has like 50 people there,
Right.
and it's more of a tuning in. I mean, unless you were the chair,
Right. Yeah.
which you probably could be next time.
yeah, I mean, in general, I would probably say that our meetings do take precedence over these other meetings, but I also
That's what I thought, but I just wanted. I knew Elizabeth had been on the part of the collaborative before. Okay.
I have missed collaborative meetings for regular school committee meetings and then caught
Okay.
up in their minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, with that then, it is now 6:59 p.m. and I do want to affirm that no members of the public, they were never in the waiting room or anything like that. So hopefully next time, like I said, we'll put out a little notice in the parent updates that go out and ask for them to show up and give feedback or to send us emails about our goals. But in the meantime, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call. I'm a yes. Member Goodwin,
Yes.
Member Deneve.
Yes.
All right, this meeting is adjourned at 6:59 p.m. November 19th, and I'm going to stop the recording.